The topic of characters representing the 7 deadly sins is a video idea that has been on the rise lately, with several videos being made on different formats such as YouTubers. So today I decided to make one with cartoon characters, and let's get started. First and foremost, we have greed, which can be described as an uncontrollable desire for wealth and riches. For this, we have the crab, the myth, the legend, Eugene Krabs. Mr. Krabs is the very wealthy owner of the very successful underwater fast food franchise, the Krusty Krabs. One would think that with all the profit that this establishment pulls in, Mr. Krabs would be content with the wealth he has. But no, Mr. Krabs will take any opportunity that comes his way to penny pinch and save another dollar, even if it comes at the detriment of other people. It could be his family members or his co-workers, it doesn't really matter to him. The greediness of this crustacean is put on full display early on in Season 3's Born Again Krabs, where he sells SpongeBob's soul to the Flying Dutchman for 62 cents. It sounds like a joke, but I'm not joking. Mr. Krabs had the option to choose between SpongeBob and all the change in the Dutchman's pocket, and without missing a beat, this man immediately went for the change, even while SpongeBob was screaming because he had been sentenced to Davy Jones' locker with the Dutchman. You know a move like that is bad when even Squidward calls out Mr. Krabs after it happens, because for him to snap at the chance to sell SpongeBob's soul for what is essentially chicken change was a new low even for him. In another instance, Mr. Krabs decides to make the Krusty Krab a 24-hour food restaurant so that he can outdo Plankton, who had made the Chum Bucket run 23 hours. Now, SpongeBob and Squidward, the only employees of Mr. Krabs, are forced to work every hour of the day to meet this crab's unreasonable desire for profit. After 43 days, everybody working within the Krusty Krab is at their breaking point, except SpongeBob, who has gone past the point of no return, as he forgets how to even make Krabby Patties the right way, and also develops a fear for them. Mr. Krabs' lack of regard for the welfare of his employees throughout this endeavor is the most frightening part, with the way he implements the 24-hour policy at a moment's notice without even consulting anyone about it, and then proceeds to work all of his employees beyond their limits. Finally, the last moment I would want us to look at is probably his most outrageous display of greed, and that is in the episode SpongeBob, You're Fired, where, as the title suggests, SpongeBob is fired by Mr. Krabs to save money. I don't know if it's actually saving money, because Mr. Krabs only did it to save a nickel, which I'm assuming is how much he pays SpongeBob. And at this point, that alone could be a point on its own, but just the fact that he made the decision so casually and acted on it without the slightest bit of remorse for his #1 fry cook, who again is the reason for all the success Mr. Krabs has, is appalling. All of this goes to show how terrible Mr. Krabs has been to the people around him, especially those responsible for all the wealth and success that he enjoys, specifically SpongeBob. And if you know any other character that would fit this role well, let me know in the comments. The next person on the list who I see is the embodiment of wrath in the CartooniVerse, and that's Benson Dunwoody from Regular Show. Wrath is an extreme or very strong form of anger, and if you've watched Regular Show, you know this is Benson. Benson is a groundswork manager at the park who is in charge of most of the main characters on the show. However, he has very bad anger problems that arise every time he gets annoyed by somebody. Benson has been seen on many different occasions to display his deep-seated rage. He does this through shouting and screaming at the people that he is angry with, which happens to be Mordecai and Rigby more often than not. Watching the series would make you know that Benson inherited this behavior from his parents, as his childhood was not a particularly happy one, with his father encouraging him to shout to communicate his thoughts across the people. This, alongside a myriad of awful things that happened to Benson throughout his young adult life, turned him into a bitter and hardened gumball machine by the time he started working at the park. In some of his most outrageous outbursts, he has raged at Mordecai and Rigby so hard that his pent-up aggression threatened the state of the park, and when he unleashed all of that rage at Mordecai and Rigby, he actually went deaf for the remainder of the episode. Apart from this, he's always threatening to fire them whenever they got on his nerves, and he's not afraid to use his voice to get that point across. However, the saving grace for Benson is that unlike some of the other people in this video, he grows as a character and by the end of the show manages to somehow control all of his anger. If you want an in-depth video about his rage early life and where it stemmed from, I made a video on it that will be in the description that you can check out when you are done with this video. You can also let me know in the comments who would be an alternative candidate for this spot, because I feel and know like I've glossed over a few of them. For lust, we have Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now, lust is a strong and uncontrolled desire or a longing for something, and this representative over here is a very despicable character if I do say so myself, because in addition to being the embodiment of lust, this man could also fit in as a personification of hypocrisy because in his self-conceited mission to rid the world of evil and sinners, he dedicates his life to purging the Romani people as he sees them as the scum of the earth. However, he still falls in love, or should I say in lust, with Esmeralda, who is also a Roma. He blames his feelings of attraction towards her on magic that she casts on him and even goes as far as threatening to murder people when he is incapable of getting her. That's one way of escaping the friend zone and jumping straight into the stalker zone, because from the moment he sets his eyes on her as she's dancing in the city, he goes on a rampage to get her to be his. She escapes from his clutches and he goes on a crazy manhunt and burning down houses. He finally captures her and orders her execution, but offers her an opportunity for freedom if she chooses him. And we all know what that entails, so she rejects it and spits in his face. This results in some hijinks that ultimately ends in Frollo falling into some lava, which is tragic, but befitting end to this evil character. Other notable characters that were considered for this role are Pepe, the skunk, and Johnny Bravo. Next, sloth has also been defined as a failure to do things that one should do. That is, laziness or lack of work. With sloth, there's only one man, or should I say rabbit, that deserves the spot, and that bunny is Richard Watterson from The Amazing World of Gumball. And I don't think he would leave his couch to come and claim this award though. The fact that there is literally a lazy off, which features Gumball and Darwin challenging Richard to see who is the laziest person in town after trying to find someone as lazy as him and failing goes wrong. And if you all know what happened in the summer of 1983, you should be well acquainted with how renowned Richard is known for his laziness. In this episode, Richard puts his laziness on full display as he exhibits all the tactics that he uses to be lazy, such as blowing air from his mouth to a contraption to make pizza enter his mouth without leaving the couch, and even changing the channels of the TV with his butt. Furthermore, in the episode The Job, it is revealed that Richard getting a job and working changed the balance of the universe because of how unnatural it was. And because of that, anomalies were happening all around town and presumably the world, with water flowing upside down and the literal fabric of the universe being torn. The only remedy to prevent the universe from crumbling under this new threat was for Richard to get fired from his new job for eating some pizza from a customer's order. And I mean, you can't really get lazier than this if the actual universe is being distorted because you have finally started to work. That's wild. Honorable mentions who were within consideration for his spot is Garfield and of course Lazy Larry. And Pride, which is the self-inflation of one's image above others, we have Daffy Sheldon Duck from the Looney Tunes, the animated series. This version of Daffy was a real menace to everyone around him, the audience included. Before I dive into his character though, I wanted to make sure I give this show the props it deserves for being the best iteration of Looney Tunes in my opinion. Moving on, I fully believe that Daffy Duck only had enough space in his head to think about himself. On one occasion, he stole his caretaker and best friend's invention and passed it off as his own, which caused Bugs Bunny to run into financial troubles. And when the dynamic of their friendship had shifted to the point where Daffy was now the provider and Bugs was the desolate one, Daffy made sure to make Bugs very aware of this at every given opportunity. So much so that Bugs ended up leaving the house to go and live in an actual hole in the ground. Imagine doing this to the person who brought you into his house free of charge and has been catering for your every need since the pilot episode. He also isn't shy to lie to one of his closest and only friends, Porky Pig, to scam him out of all the money that he has with the pretense of getting surgery, while in actuality, he just wanted to buy a yacht. Imagine going bankrupt thinking your friend was getting life-saving surgery, while in reality, he's busily buying a glamorous boat with two, not one, but two hot tubs and some fancy cotton cloths instead of sails. That's Daffy for you. And I could go on a tangent just advocating the type of abuse Porky in particular has suffered at his hands, such as the time that he assumed Porky was a serial killer for some reason and thrashed his house, then ran him over with a car while trying to run away. And the worst part is that Porky was actually planning a surprise party for Daffy the whole time alongside a few others. Again, for this spot, we can have Zap Brannigan from Futurama. For envy, which is kind of like greed and lust combined, we have to go back to the first show that appeared on this list because we need to get Plankton. Envy is described as a resentful longing for someone else's possession, and if that doesn't describe Plankton's character, then I don't know what would, because he spends the entirety of his on and off screen time devising plans and schemes to steal the Krabby Patty's secret formula from the Krusty Krabs. The Krabby Patty's secret formula is what is used to create the most successful fast food product in Bikini Bottom, the Krabby Patty. Thus, to recreate the same success that the patty has brought in his rival Mr. Krabs' restaurant, he does everything that he can to steal the formula, and he has gone to pretty extreme lengths, such as the premise of the SpongeBob movie, where he framed Mr. Krabs for stealing King Neptune's crown, which led to Mr. Krabs almost being fired by the King of the Sea underwater, I may add. However, through the intervention of SpongeBob and Patrick, they're able to save him. But this doesn't stop Planting at all, as he continues to do everything within his power to obtain the Krusty Krab secret formula. He even faked an injury and sent Mr. Krabs to court, and the only reason why he was caught was because SpongeBob brought a Krabby Patty to the trial, and Plankton, forgetting that he was supposed to be injured, just jumped and tried to steal the patty from the courtroom. But I guess you can say he's very envious of Mr. Krabs and the Krabby Patty secret formula. Gluttony means the overindulgence and overconsumption of food or drinks. It is considered a sin if the excessive desire of food leads to a lack of control over one's relation with food or harms the body. For this category, I literally cannot choose one specific character, so for the last entry of this video, we will look at 4 different characters who signify and personify this. Peter Griffin. Peter is the head of the Griffin family in Family Guy. However, that does not mean that he always acts like that. Numerous episodes show that Peter has an uncontrollable addiction to alcohol, as he is seen frequently consuming large quantities of alcohol at a moment's notice. This of course has placed him in so many uncalled for situations, but that's Peter for you. Next, we have Po from Kung Fu Panda. The Dragon Warrior has a knack for getting distracted or carried away by food in different situations throughout the show. Whether it is dumplings or chow mein, Po is always in the mood to munch on some edible goodies. It can even be said that he fights best when his food is at risk or when he has a chance to win it if he succeeds in a challenge. Third and fourth on this list is our favorite crime-fighting, mystery-solving duo, Shaggy and Scooby. To say that these two love food is the understatement of the year, as they will never miss the opportunity to stuff themselves full with comically large amounts of food wherever possible. Even in the face of impending doom, they can always spare a bite for sandwiches or anything that looks good. Not to mention, anytime that the rest of the gang wants them to do something for them, all it takes is some Scooby snacks and whatever they were protesting against takes care of itself, alluding to the pair's willingness to do anything for food. And those are my 4 picks for Gluttony, but honestly speaking, I think I could have used Shaggy and Scooby alone. So who else do you think would have fit this role? And let me know in the comments anybody else who could have fit any of the categories. Thank you so much for making it until the end. I'm really grateful. Again, if you have any other submissions for who should have made the list, let me know in the comments, as it would be very entertaining to see what you guys come up with. You can click over here to watch a video why modern cartoons feel like they're getting worse. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Stay safe. Tune out.